test, 1, 2, 3. This is a mic test. This is a mic test, 1, 2, 3. 3, 2, 1. Mic test, 1, 2, 1, 2. This live satsang is presented by Radha Krishna Foundation in light of the ongoing lockdown and in support of Sri Lakshmi Mandir of West Palm Beach, Florida. Radha Krishna Dham of number 73 Village, Guyana. Number 7271 Sanatan Mandir of number 72 Village, Guyana. Dharma Mandir of London, United Kingdom. And Shiva Mandir Ashram of Leguan Island, Guyana.
Bihari Lal ki jai. Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Deva Maheshwara Gurur Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah. Sadguru Maharaj ki jai. Devotees of Bhagavan, again this morning, for those of you who were with us, welcome to our Sunday morning online satsang, and I hope that these few minutes that you will spend with us will be beneficial at different levels, beneficial as to your spiritual pursuit and everything else that you're deserving of in life, or all your other rightful pursuits. Like we usually do, when we start, we do our prarthana, we do prayers to Ganesh Bhagavan, because we all know that Ganapati Bhagavan is Pratham Puja, and he's worshipped mainly as the remover of obstacles. What we also have to try and understand is, or remind ourselves as Hindus, is that, or as human beings, that many obstacles that we face in life are obstacles within us or inside of us. They're inside of us in the form of deformed thinking and of mind and intellect and perceptions generally. These are called inner deformities. And they're like demons that express in negative ways as negative traits in us, in the form of excess desire, or jealousy, or hatred, etc. As long as these internal demons go away, as we know, we become open to receive higher truths. We've been talking about the real truth and higher truths for a long time now. So with Ganeshji's blessings, the confusion is unraveled, and good intellect will prevail as long as we're able to achieve Bhagavan's blessings. And those will also come in the form of pure devotion. That will also be bestowed upon us, because now we have a clarity of thought. So we can conclude that praying to Ganesh Bhagavan, Ganeshji's worship, is like a key that we have, a key to the gate of a huge bungalow. In this bungalow there are many, many chambers, many mysterious chambers that we have not explored. We don't know the benefits of them. So unless we're able to open the gate on that fence to enter the bungalow, we will know, of course, how we can benefit. We will know what's inside. So whoever prays to Ganesh Bhagavan, the first thing that will happen is that devotee's heart, their mind and intellect will blossom in beautiful ways. When that happens, then we'll be able to uncover all the goodies that are in that bungalow. That bungalow, that is his body inside of us. They're tremendous treasures that we haven't tapped as yet, because we haven't entered that realm. The blessings of Ganesh Bhagavan can help us to explore, to uncover that realm, so that we can start enjoying boundless happiness. To do so, we'll give prayers to Ganesh Bhagavan in the form of the Sankatanashan Stotra. Many of us know the Sankata Mochan, the prayer to Hanumanji, where Hanumanji separates difficulties from us and helps us to enjoy and to become free and peaceful. In the same way, Ganesh Bhagavan, this is from Narad Puran, Sankata Nashan. Sankat, of course, means troubles, difficulties. Nashan means to destroy. So Ganesh Bhagavan destroys the difficulties of entering into this divine bungalow and uncover that which affords us tremendous joy. Let us group our voices together as we sing Pranamya Shirasha Devam. Pranamya Shirasha Devam Gauriputram Vinayakam Bhaktavasam Smare Nityam Ayukamadasedyaye Pranamya Shirasa Devam Gauriputram Vinayakam Bhaktavasam Smare Nityam Ayukamadasedyaye Pratamam Vakratundam Cha Ekadantam Dvitiyakam Tritiyam Krishna Pingaksham Gajavaktram Chaturtakam Lambodaram Panchamam Cha Shashtam Vikatameva Cha Saptamam Vidna Rajendra Dhumravarnam Tatashtamam Naumam Balachandam Cha Dashamam Tu Vinayakam Ekadasham Ganapati Dvadasham Tu Gajananam Dvadashaitani Namani Trisankyam Yapate Nara Nacha Vigna Bhayam Tasya Sarva Siddhikaram Param Vidyarti Labhate Vidyam Dhanarti Labhate Dhanam Putrarti Labhate Putran Moksharti Labhate Gatim Japendra Ganapati Stotram Shadabirmasai Phalam Labhet Samvatsarena Siddham Cha Labhate Nata Sansaya Ashtabhyo Brahmanebhyasya Likitvaya Samarpayet Tasya Vidya Bhavet Sarvam Ganeshasya Prasadata Vakratunda Mahakaya Surya Koti Samaprabha Nirviganam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada Sarva Mangala Mangalaye Shive Sarvartha Sadhike Sharanye Trambake Gauri Narayani Namostute Narayani Namostute Narayani Namostute Ganapati Bhagavan Ki Jai. Every week we also give prayers to female form of God. We pray to Mahalakshmi, Saraswati, Durga, different aspects of God in a female form. Again this morning, we supplicate and ask Divine Mother. Mothers love children unconditionally, and so especially, or more especially, obedient children. And so let us be obedient to Divine Mother, and so we'll have the opportunity to enjoy unconditional love in the form of protection, in the form of inspiration and guidance every day in our lives. Lakshmi karotu kalyanam Arogyam Sukha Sampada Mama Shatrum Vinashaya Deepajotir Namastude. सर्वेश्वरी जगदीश्वरी सर्वेश्वरी जगदीश्वरी हे मातृरूप महेश्वरी सर्वेश्वरी जगदीश्वरी सर्वेश्वरी जगदीश्वरी हे मातृरूप महेश्वरी हे मातृरूप महेश्वरी ममतामयी करुणामयी ममतामयी करुणामयी हे मातृरूप महेश्वरी हे मातृरूप महेश्वरी जगजीवनी संजीवनी समस्त जीवनेश्वरी जगजीवनी संजीवनी समस्त जीवनेश्वरी हे मातृरूप महेश्वरी हे मातृरूप महेश्वरी सर्वेश्वरी जगदीश्वरी सर्वेश्वरी जगदीश्वरी हे मातृरूप महेश्वरी हे मातृरूप महेश्वरी हे मातृरूप महेश्वरी जगदम्बा मैया की जय. And now we give prayers to Hanumanji. Hanumanji is the greatest servant, the greatest bhakta of Bhagavan Sri Ram. He shows all of us how to do bhakti, how to be involved in selfless service while being humble. Hanuman Chalisa tells us that if we pray to Hanumanji sincerely, we'll be able to emulate his qualities, which is something that is achieved through prayers and self-effort, but not excluding prayers to Hanumanji. Pray to Bhagavan Sri Ram and he loves it. Pray to Hanumanji and be able to become closer and closer like him, so that we can tide over all difficulties in life, while at the same time we'll be able to use those actions, those whether mental or physical actions, as bhakti in our daily lives. Sri Guru Charana Saroj Raja Nij Man Mukur Sudar Barno Raghubar Bimal Jasu Jodayak Palchar Buddhihin Tanujani Kai Sumiro Pavan Kumar Bal Buddhi Vidya Dehu Mohi Haraho Kalesha Vikar Bolo Ram, 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 Bolo Ram. साच निकट नहीं आवे, महावीर जब नाम सुनावे। नासै रोग हरे सब पीरा, जपत निरंतर हनुमत वीरा। साधु संत के तुम रखवारे, असुर निकंदन राम दुलारे। सब सुख लहे तुम्हारी शरणा, तुम रक्षक काहू को डरना। जो सत बार पात कर कोई, छूत ही बंदी महासुख होए। जो सत बार पात कर कोई, छूत ही बंदी महासुख होए। छूत ही बंदी महासुख होए। पवन तनय संकट हरन, मंगल मूर्ति रूप। राम लखन सीता सहित, हृदय बसहु सुरभूप सिया। पति रामचंद्र की जय शरणम। बोलो राम बोलो राम, बोलो राम बोलो राम। बोलो राम राम राम, बोलो राम राम राम। बोलो राम राम राम, बोलो राम राम राम। बोलो राम राम राम, बोलो राम राम राम। बोलो राम बोलो राम। महावीर स्वामी की जय। As we all know, but we're still in the season of Shravan Maas, where it is highly auspicious to do pratna, to do prayers, to do worship to Bhagavan Shankar. That is why in the end of our satsang, before we do closing prayers, we do a little meditation. For these few weeks, our meditation is Shiv Manas Puja. So if you can just spend the rest of the time with us, we'll have an opportunity to do puja to Bhagavan Shankar. But for now, let us chant the names of the 12 Jyotirlingams. These are the natural lingams spread across India. We know of some of them, Mahakaleshwar, etc. Maybe Rameshwaram, the one in the south of India that was created by Bhagavan Sri Ram himself when he was crossing the bridge to Lanka. These are the 12 lingams. Highly, highly auspicious. Those of you who went to Varanasi would have gone to the mandir there. But in our mind, if you worship those lingams, it is just as powerful, if not more powerful. Let us group our voices together as we chant to Bhagavan Shankar. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Saurashtra Somanatham cha, Srishaila Mallikarjunam. Saurashtra Somanatham cha, Srishaila Mallikarjunam. Ujjainam Mahakalam, Omkaram Amaleshwaram. Ujjainam Mahakalam, Omkaram Amaleshwaram. Saurashtra Somanatham दाकिन्यं भीमशङ्करं पराल्यं वैद्यनाथं च दाकिन्यं भीमशङ्करं सेतुबन्धुतुरामेशं नागेशं दर्कावने सेतुबन्धुतुरामेशं नागेशं दर्कावने सौराष्ट्र सोमनाथं च श्रीशैलमल्लिकार्जुनं वाराणस्यं तु विश्वेशं त्र्यम्बकं गौतमीतते वाराणस्यं तु विश्वेशं त्र्यम्बकं गौतमीतते हिमालये तु केदारं भूष्मेशं च शिवालये हिमालये तु केदारं भूष्मेशं च शिवालये सौराष्ट्र सोमनाथं च श्रीशैलमल्लिकार्जुनम् एतानि ज्योतिर्लिङ्गानि सायं प्रतपते नर एतानि ज्योतिर्लिङ्गानि सायं प्रतपते नर सप्तजन्म कृतं पापं स्मरणेन विनश्यति सप्तजन्म कृतं पापं स्मरणेन विनश्यति सौराष्ट्र सोमनाथं च श्रीशैलमल्लिकार्जुनं सौराष्ट्र सोमनाथं च श्रीशैलमल्लिकार्जुनम् शंकर भगवान की जय।
ओ तेरे संग यारा खुश रंग बहारा तू रात दीवानी वह सर्द सितारा
जब जब सैया दर्श दिखावे जियो बेकरार था जियो बेकरार था आज भी है और कल भी रहेगा
मन बुद्धि विद्या ये उठाए
गम దని సని దని గమ 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 గరి రే సా मेरा रंग दे बसंती चोला मेरा रंग दे बसंती चोला मेरा रंग दे बसंती चोला
मीत प्यारे आओ मीत प्यारे
यादों की बारात निकली है आज दिल के द्वारे दिल के द्वारे सपनों की शहनाई बीते दिनों को पुकारे दिल के द्वारे
Good afternoon, passengers. All international departures to the United States, Canada, the United Kingdom, Guyana, Trinidad, Suriname, South Africa, Australia, and India are all expected to board on time. All in-flight entertainment will be Janmashtami around the world, presented by Radha Krishna Foundation. On August 8th, 2020, Janmashtami around the world.
Vrindavan Bihari Lal ki jai. I hope you enjoyed our ad. That is the official ad for International Janmashtami show coming up on the 8th of August. So please go to the Foundation's page, take that ad and share to as many people as possible. As you can see, there's an artist from every continent, I think except to one, right? There's too much ice, we couldn't find anyone singing. So as we usually do, we chant prayers and dhuns to Bhagavanji, Bhagavan Sri Krishna, Radha Rani, before we do a small pravachan. So please group your voices together. Shri Radha Rani, Radhe Rani, मेरी ठकुरानी बिराजे वृंदा बन रजधानी श्री राधे रानी श्री राधे रानी श्री राधे रानी मेरी ठकुरानी विराजे वृंदावन रजधानी विराजे वृंदावन रजधानी श्री राधे रानी मेरी ठाकुरानी विराजे वृंदावन रजधानी श्री राधे रानी अवधरधानी श्री राधे रानी अवधरधानी लुटावे ब्रज रस मन मानी लुटावे ब्रज रस मन मानी श्री राधे रानी राधे रानी राधे रानी मेरी ठाकुरानी राधे रानी मेरी ठाकुरानी बिराजे वृंदावन ठाकुरानी। श्री राधे रानी ऐसी ठाकुरानी, श्री राधे रानी ऐसी ठाकुरानी, दीवानी जाकी ब्रह्मा भवानी, दीवानी जाकी ब्रह्मानी भवानी। श्री राधे रानी, श्री राधे रानी मेरी ठाकुरानी, विराजे वृंदावन रजदानी, विराजे वृंदावन रजदानी। श्री राधे रानी ऐसी महारानी, श्री राधे रानी ऐसी महारानी, भिखारी बने त्रिभुवन दानी, भिखारी बने त्रिभुवन दानी। श्री राधे रानी, राधे रानी, राधे रानी, राधे रानी मेरी ठाकुरानी, विराजे वृंदावन रजदानी। श्री राधे रानी, राधे रानी, राधे रानी, राधे रानी मेरी ठाकुरानी, विराजे वृंदावन रजदानी, विराजे वृंदावन रजदानी, विराजे वृंदावन रजदानी। वृंदावन बिहारी लाल की जय। My reverence to all the pundits who have joined us this morning, all the teachers of Sanatan Dharma, welcome. I've seen that some of us are really looking to our lives and trying to find out what our purpose is, and for the past so many weeks that you've been joining us, we appreciate you joining us. Because one of the things we do in this satsang is to do a small pravachan. The pravachan is meant to remind us as Hindus as to what our purpose is. As you may have observed, that our pravachan and our prayer service is designed to augment your spirituality. We're not very heavy on the religious aspects necessarily, because we all know that. All of us know how to worship. We learn from our parents, from our pundits, etc. But we have to do more than that, which is educate ourselves. Why? Jane binu na hoi partiti, binu partiti hoi nahi priti. Many of us realize that, many of us don't realize that. This is a doha, this is from Uttarakhand. This is called knowledge, hoi partiti, that the question of faith, an absolutely important and vital ingredient in our lives, faith. And it will not come. We will have no faith if we have no knowledge. And binu parititi hoi nahi priti. Without faith, there can be nahi priti, there can be no love for God. Without love for God, what happens? We would have wasted our existence as a human being. Why? Because Bhagavan says, Hari Vyapak Sarvatra Samana Premate Pragat Hoi Mai Jana. Only through prem. Only through prem that we can, prem means love, that we can attain God. So for those of you who are with us this morning, if we want to improve ourselves not only spiritually but in other ways, then we can take the examples of the scriptures, and while they teach us how to grow spiritually, they also teach us how to grow in every other way in every other aspect in life, materially and mentally and morally and socially and emotionally, etc., etc. This is the greatness of Bhagavad Gita. So while for many Bhagavad Gita is this boring thing that we don't have any time for, if we really look into it, it will help us. So very quickly, let us look at a verse from Bhagavad Gita. Last week we finished verse 3 of chapter 7, and this week we'll do verse 4 of chapter 7 of Bhagavad Gita. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Bhumirapo no vayu kham mano buddhi revacha aham karitiyam prakritirashtada bhinna prakritirashtada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So here Bhagavan is saying, if you remember last week, Bhagavan says that out of thousands and thousands and thousands of people, and just a few come into perfection. And from that few who come into perfection, just a few from that few would actually know him, attain him, know him in truth. Why is this happening? We said last week that because people lacking bhakti. So why is it? Why is it that it is unequivocal in all the scriptures unanimously that if you lack bhakti, you will not be able to know God in truth? We're lacking bhakti because we don't have the relevant knowledge to help us to maintain our bhakti. Like we said last week, some people think bhajan singing is bhakti. Some people think, many things are bhakti. But bhakti will come if you love a bhajan, or you love a chaupai, or you love anything musically, you will feel God's presence in you. Then when it's done, the bhakti will go away. Why is that? Why don't we have continuous, consistent and unbroken bhakti? Is because we don't have the knowledge to support our bhakti. Without knowledge, our bhakti will be fleeting. It will come and go in very, very quick moments. So, it is the knowledge that we are discussing here, not necessarily that because, I'm conducting the satsanga, because the knowledge that is coming from Bhagavad Gita and the greatest minds. When we have this, we'll be able to maintain bhakti. Bhakti will give us a peaceful life, and it will help us to know God. So, Bhumirapo analo vayu kam brahma buddhirevacha. So this is a common verse where Bhagavan says that earth, water, fire, air, space, mind, intellect, and ego, these are 8 components of my material energy. Remember, Bhagavan says here, this is my material energy. What does that mean? It means that this is Bhagavan apara prakriti, right? The word is used there. Prakriti means energy. So let's remember that. This is also said in Ramayana, Chiti jal pavak gagana samira panchara chita atyadhama sharira. Bhagavan Sri Ram is telling Tara, the wife of Bali, that these 5 elements, they make up the human body. These are the same 5 things that Bhagavan says that these are my energy, my material energy. These are the same things that make up the body. Earth, water, fire, air, and space. These are the same 5 elements that we worship when we do puja. When we call the Pandit and we do puja, if we do puja by ourselves, these are the 5 elements we worship. Why? Because these elements are God's energy. They didn't just appear here by a big bang like we will know in modern science. This is Bhagwan's energy. When we do puja, it's an outward expression of the divinity within us, and so we worship in the form of puja, sadhana, whatever we do, because we know that this energy is God's. It's like let's take the example of the spider and a web. The web is not separate from the spider, but yet the web is not the spider. In a way it's separate, in a way it's not. But at any point in time, the spider can also pull the web back in. So Bhagavan and his energy, while it is the same, it is not the same. Like the spider and its web, like a tree. You put a tree in the ground. It grows. The tree is not the earth, but is the tree separate from the earth? The tree has had all its nutrients to grow, and because of the earth, it is being maintained. So the same way Bhagavan and his energy, these elements are Bhagavan's apara, prakriti, his lower energy. That's why we hear so many things, just to use a side example. We hear that now water has energy, the trees have energy, etc. The prominent water research that was done by a Japanese doctor, Dr. Masuru Emoto. He did the water energy experiment. His work is actually called the Hidden Messages in Water. Yeah, and it was also published in the New York Times. It showed that when water is exposed to loving and benevolent words, when the showing of good human intentions are happening, the molecules in the water react and they form crystals. This is an experiment, a scientific experiment that was done. However, when the water was exposed to harsh words and negative human intentions, it turns into mud. You can find this anywhere, on the internet. There's a book as well. When we look at plants, there's a piece of work, a study done called plant bullying by a Long Island student, Ali Bauman. And this was also covered in CBS News. That she took 2 plants, Ali took 2 plants, and she said nice words to them sometimes. Or she said nice words to one plant, and to the other she said bullying words. Words like, you're so short and you're so ugly, etc. The other plant she said beautiful words to. The result is that the plant that she was bullying started to wither and it died. And the other one was blooming very well. Why? Because this is Bhagavan's energy. This is not something we don't subscribe to the concept that God has created this universe and he left it here and God is separate from this universe. That is not Sanatan philosophy. However, Bhagavan says that this is my apara, prakriti, meaning my lower energy. These 5 elements are my lower energy. So Sri Krishna calls it apara energy or apara prakriti. This energy is ordinary and it's external. And like we know them by now, water, fire, earth, air, and ether. Bhagavan says these are my lower energy, and they're ordinary energy, and they're external. And all different forms that you see there are actually forms of my one energy. Bhagavad Gita also helps us to understand that matter does not possess consciousness, and we'll look at this in a few minutes. So what that means is that consciousness does not exist in material energy. which is really the difference between Mata and Jivatma. So, I will look into that in a few minutes. However, Mata does live and pervade the spiritual energy, which we call the soul. And the way we know that is, we're alive, we take a little something, we prick the finger, we feel it, we jump. That's a sign of consciousness within us. Because if you take that same pin and you poke it on something else, that's not a human being, it would not necessarily scream or jump. So Bhagavan is saying that this is a twofold nature, essentially. So just to provide a little bit of information before we move on, these are 5 elements, and they are in their subtle state, not gross state. When they're created, created from Mahan and the Hankar, that is high philosophy, and science has not reached there yet, so it cannot be explained. But the third one is called Tanmatra. So this energy that Bhagavan is saying is Tanmatra. Tanmatra means that we experience them in subtle form. What does that mean? It means that we experience them as Shabda, means sound. We experience them as Sparsh, which means touch. We experience them as Roop, which means sight. As Ras, which means taste. And Gandha, which means smell. And from these five subtle energy, the gross energy is exposed. What is that? Now Shabda becomes space, the sound becomes space, Sparsh, touch becomes air, Roop or sight becomes fire, Ras, taste becomes water, and Gandha, smell, earth is manifested. So that in brief, just to cover that point. So now we experience these 5 energies. So what Bhagavan is saying here, that this is the same God's energy everywhere. If these 5 elements are God's energies, then how is it that Bhagavan will power this energy if they're not God itself? And we'll look into that. But the same energy that we're talking about is not only here in this earth planet that we live there, in all the galaxies. We're just living under one sun, one star. There are 100 billion stars in our galaxy. And then there are billions of galaxies. And then there are clusters of galaxies, and there are many clusters. Each one, there's a star in each one. There's a Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh in each one. So it's the same energy that makes up all of those that we talk about. However, Bhagavan warns us in Bhagavad Gita here that my apara prakriti, my lower energy, leads to bondage. This is the prakriti that creates all the problems that we have in our lives. It is the energy that causes dukh. Dukh, unhappiness. It is out of this energy that our body, our mind, and our senses are produced. Apara prakriti, apara, lower energy. And because of this alone, we experience all the variations we experience in life, all the variations that are associated with them, in the form of limitations and doubts and so many different things that we experience are from this energy. This is God's energy, but lower energy. All these are caused by what we call apara prakriti, or lower energy. That is why Bhagavan has named it lower energy, not just energy. It is para and apara prakriti. And so as intelligent human beings, if we study Bhagavad Gita, then we should know that we should not make this into the be-all and end-all of our life's aims, because they give trouble and they're finite. Let's don't mistake this as the meaning of life. Let's don't think that this is all that there is to do. The greatest of men thought so, and they were wrong, and they found out the hard way. Who doesn't know the story of Alexander the Great? Because at the beginning of his ambitious attempt to conquer the rest of the world, Alexander sought the blessings of a monk, as we will call a Swami, right? A saint. a monk in Athens. He went to this monk before he went on to conquer the rest of the world. The monk's name was Diogenes. And this monk lived in a barrel in Athens. So Alexander approached the monk, and the monk asked him, "Who are you?" Alexander answered, "Oh, you don't know me? I am Alexander the Great." The monk laughed and said, "You're clearly not great. No great man says that. No great man says that he's great. Anyways, what do you want?" "Well," Alexander says, "my plan is to set off to conquer the rest of the world, and I've come for your blessing." The monk says, "Nobody can do that. Nobody can conquer the world. I have a better idea for you, Mr. Great. Why don't you try and conquer yourself first? That your idea is wrong, and because of that, you'll never make it back to Athens." Diogenes is saying to Alexander. Regardless of that, Alexander the Great went on his journey, and he conquered so many places. As you know the story, he got all the way to where Pakistan is, the Pakistan part of India used to be then. And so he decided to turn back from India. But he heard of the yogis. He heard of the Indian yogis and how powerful they are, so he wanted to take a yogi back with him to Athens. So he sent the soldiers out. They met a meditating yogi. According to the reports, this yogi's name was Dandamis. And so initially the yogi refused to come. The soldiers told him that, "Listen, if you come, that Alexander the Great will reward you greatly. There will be so many things for you. Just make the decision and come with us." The yogi says, "I have no interest in all those things." And so they went to Alexander, reported that, and he went himself. Alexander went himself. He asked the same question, he got the same answer. He says, "Are you refusing me? Don't you know who I am?" Alexander the Great is telling the Indian yogi that in a second from now I can bring you to an end, and your little OG that you have here, I can finish everything up in just the next few seconds. So he says, "Who are you?" Alexander is asking, "Who are you?" Dandamis says, "Look, I'll give you an answer. And the answer is that I know who you are." He's telling Alexander that you are the servant of my servant. "What? I am the servant of your servant? I am Alexander the Great." And he got furious. "I am the emperor, and you dare address me as a servant? Why?" The yogi says, "Anger is my servant, and you are a servant of anger. So yes, you're the servant of my servant. You're bent out of shape just because an insignificant person living in a little loji has no material possessions because I can't take your order. Look how bent out of shape you are, and you call yourself great." Alexander is now saying to his soldiers, I've conquered so much. But clearly I couldn't convince Diogenes in Athens, and now I cannot convince Dandamis here in India. However, they kept trying, and a yogi by the name, again given, I guess in a Greek way, Kalinos, agreed. And he left with Alexander to go back to Athens. There's a possibility that he would have educated Alexander on their way, but when the yogi got to, in the Arabian desert and they're coming back to Europe, he had a change of mind, and he was thinking about his decision that he made. And so he didn't want to come anywhere, and so he gave his body up. The yogi gave up his body because he didn't want to come with Alexander anymore. But he may have educated him in the process. Alexander got sick, as you know, on his way back. And what happened? From the knowledge that he got from the yogi, he said to his soldiers, and this is the part that everyone knows, he had conquered so much, boundless treasures he had. He was dying. He was sick for days and days and days on end. And nothing he had could have helped him. He had many doctors with him. He had everything. He told his soldiers, when I die, just leave both my hands out of my coffin. I want to show the world that even though I accumulated so much, that I would not be taking any of it with me. So this is a story, it's a moral piece of information that we all know so very well. And this serves to remind us that we must know what we need to do in life, what life is for, and we must have a balance. That it should not be material possessions and accumulations should not be the end-all, the be-all, end-all of our existence. So today that's the first verse. Today we plan to read 2 verses, and we'll just do the second one before we close our pravachan. Shri Krishna Govinda Hare Murari He Nath Narayan Vasudeva Shri Krishna Govinda Hare Murari He Nath Narayan Vasudeva 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 Shri Krishna Govinda Hare Murari He Nath Narayan Vasudeva Apareyamitastvanyam Prakritim vidhi me param Jiva bhuta mahabaho Yedam dharyate jagat Shri Krishna Govinda Hare Murari He Nath Narayan Vasudeva He Nath Narayan Vasudeva He Nath Narayan Vasudeva. Bhagavan says, Apareyamitastvanyam prakritim vidhi me param jiva bhuta mahabaho yayedam dharyate jagat. That Arjun, I was talking about my lower energy in the previously, but beyond that lower energy, Arjun, he's calling Arjun Mahabaho, Jiva Bhuta Mahabaho. I have a superior energy. When Sri Krishna says Mahabaho, what he means? Literally means a mighty armed Arjun. But by extension, it means all of us. Each one of us listening right now, Sri Krishna is talking to us. Why did he need to do that to Arjun? Why did he need to say this to Arjun alone? Bhagavad Gita is much older than 5,000 years ago than giving it to Arjun. Chapter 4, verse 1 tells us old Bhagavan Sri Krishna gave it to the sun in the beginning of time. But when we say Mahabaho, O powerful one, it means all of us. Why? Because we are Purnamada, Purnamidam, Purnata, Purnamudakshate, Purnasya, Purnamadaya, Purnameva Vashishyate. Bhagavan has made everything complete and perfect, and so are we as human beings. So when Kanhaya says Mahabaho, he's talking to all of us. Oh powerful one, you have the potential, you have the tools, you have all that it takes to reach great heights. Do not misuse them. Use them to accomplish that which you've been put on earth for. So Jiva Bhuta Mahabahu Kandhaya is saying that I have my higher energies called Jiva Bhutam. This is my Jiva Shakti, Arjun. It's called the soul energy. We call it soul, we call it spirit, we call it consciousness, we call it whatever we want to call it. This is God's soul energy. So first He has given us the 5 elements, and the 5 elements form, Man, Buddhi, Ahamkar. And now He's giving us the fuel for the 5 elements. Remember we said that those things are inert, that they don't have a soul. Now Kandhaya is saying that I also give my soul, my energy as soul. So the soul that we talk about is Bhagavan's energy, His spiritual energy this time, the Jiva Shakti, which is the basis of life. And this energy includes all the living souls in the world. Remember we talked about there are billions of galaxies and stars? All the living souls, Bhagavan has given this higher energy to. So now Krishna has moved from explaining his lower energy, so he has moved from material science towards the spiritual realm, towards spiritual science. That is why the second one is called Para Prakriti. Remember the first one? Apara Prakriti. Lower energy. This one, Kandhaya is saying, this is my Apara Prakriti, this is my higher energy. And in each one of us, the reason why you can listen to me right now, and when I say listen to me, don't take this the wrong way, but when you're listening to the satsang right now, and that I can speak, is because of that higher energy that is within us at this point in time, without which we wouldn't be able to do what we're doing now. So this is Bhagavan's superior, his internal, his higher energy, which is called Paraprakriti. Just another side note before we move forward and explain the rest of this verse. The Advaitas. Advaitas, non-dualists in Sanatana Dharma, we have people who believe in different things. That is the magnanimity of Sanatana Dharma. They can all believe in different things, but they can all attain God. They'll attain different levels of God. Some would attain moksha, which is one thing. Some would attain God's abode, which is another thing. But we'll all have something great, a freedom from peace and suffering. So Advaitas, non-dualists, say that his soul is God. That is soul that we have within us, because non-dualists believe there's only one thing. Shankara says that, there's one. Everything is one. That's all there is. Soul, body, God, everything is one. This is what non-dualists believe. They said that God has not taken two. But Dvaitas, the dualists, those who believe that God has the ability to be formless without attributes and names, and he also has the ability to have a form and have a name and have a pastime. So for those of us who worship a murti, etc., or we have a form of God with a name, we're Dvaitas, dualists. We believe that God can have a billion forms if he wants to. Because if he can, then he's not God, right? God, the word omnipotent, is synonymous with God. However, the Dvaitas say that the soul is not God, but is God's energy. And according to Bhagavad Gita, that is exactly what it says here. The soul is God's para prakriti. That his soul and God are separate. Just stay with us here. We're not going to be very long. But this is important information for us to understand and carry on with us as we proceed in looking at the verses of Bhagavad Gita. That his soul and God are separate, according to Bhagavad Gita. Jagat Guru Madhavacharya emphasized duality as well. Not only the current day Jagat Guru Kripaluji Maharaj, but many, many other great, saints. Madhavacharya was a Jagat Guru, one of the 5 original Jagat Gurus. He says that there is a soul and there is God, and they are distinctly different from each other. How do we support that? This is how we support it. Mamaivansho jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana. Mamayvancho mama eva ansa. Jiva loke. In the lives of every living being, jiva bhuta, that jiva lok, that live on this earth, that sanatana, something exists in them that is sanatan, that is eternal. Mamai vansho, mamai ancha, my energy. Same thing is written in Ramayana. Ishvara. We know the Chaupai well. Ishvara ansa jiva vinashi. Ishvara ansa jiva vinashi. That divine spark, that fragmental part of God is within all of us. So why is it the soul is not God? We were confused. Some people are confused, especially if you spoke with dualists and non-dualists, right? How do we know? How can we confirm scripturally that the soul is not God, but God's higher energy? This is how we can do that. Ishvara sarva bhutanam hideshi arjuna tishtati brahmayan sarva bhutani yantarudani mayaya. Ishvara sarva bhutanam. Again, Sri Krishna is saying sarva bhutanam. Arjuna and all living beings, hridesh, in their heart, tishtati, I reside there. Ishvara sarva bhutanam, that I reside there as God. There are three aspects of God that are available to us, but this is a different topic. We cannot talk about that right now, but just for information's sake, it's called Bhagavan, it's called Brahm, it's called Paramatma. This is written in Bhagavad Mahapuran. Paramatma is the aspect of God that sits in the heart. So this is God. So there are two entities that live within us, not one, not only the soul. The soul is God's energy, but God also lives within us. Remember these verses, right? Mamai vancho jiva loke. 15:7, Gita. Ishvara sarva bhutanam, that God lives there. 18:6-1. Ishvara ansa jivana avinashi Ramayana. So this tells us that we are much different from God. If we want to conclude that, soul and us and God, everything is one and everything is the same, then we can take a few things into consideration and we'll find out that we're very different from God, that God is all-pervading and the soul is not. All-pervading means the soul, God is everywhere at the same time. Remember? Hari vyapaka sarvatra samana. What does that mean? Samana means equally. Hari vyapak. Vyapak means pervade. Sarvatra means everywhere. Samana means equally. That God is everywhere at the same time equally. But the soul is not. The soul is within us. Because if we ask ourselves a question, we cannot be here and there at the same time. Our thoughts can be, but not us physically. We have to do this virtual satsang. We all would have been at the same place all the time, every time. And nobody would, you don't have to go to any satsang, you're there, even though you're at home, 1,000 miles away. So these are qualities of God, not the soul, to be everywhere at the same time, etc. God is all-knowing. Sarvagya, are we all-knowing? We're alpagya, we're limited in our knowing. Anyways, those examples as a side note. Bhagavan says that the soul, being my energy, listen to this, the soul being my energy, that it has a simultaneous oneness and a difference with me at the same time. The soul is my energy, has a simultaneous oneness and a difference with me at the same time. The example of that is given as fire. The example of heat, or heat and light, can be called one with fire. Because that is the dharma of fire, to give heat and to give light. It is the duty of fire. Or they can also be said that they're distinct from fire. If you say that they're one with fire, or if you say that they're distinct from fire, both are correct. So that's an example of how the soul works. There's a beautiful example in Veda as well. Let's look at that example. Sharam pradhan mritaksharam hara kshatatman vishite deva eka tasya vidyadyo jana tattva bhavana bhuyaschante vishwamana nivritti. This is Svetashwar Upanishad. Yajurved is saying, this is actually the first chapter, the 10th verse, Yajurved. Is saying that there are three entities in existence. This is a supported point of the dualist, right? Of the people who believe God can be anything, or more than one thing. Pradhanam, matter. So the verse is saying that matter, which is perishable, the individual soul, who are imperishable, and God, who is the controller of both matter and souls, that these are the three things that are in existence. That there are three things, according to the verse. Three entities in existence, and they're matter, individual soul, and God. So this spells it out very clearly that the soul is one thing, God is one thing, and matter is one thing. That they're not all one. This is according to Yajurved. So, if we're listening carefully, a question is cropping up in our mind. So if the soul is not God, how does he power? How does he power the soul? We attribute our existence to God's grace. So how does he do that? How does God make all of us live if the soul is not him? There's again a beautiful verse to help us understand that. Ksharat kshara swarupete sarvabhuteshvavastite Aksharam tata param brahma kshayam sarvamidam jagat. This is Vishnu Puran. Vishnu Puran, first canto, 22nd chapter, 55th verse. Vishnu Puran says, if you have the question in mind, how God powers us, if the soul is not us, that it says here that just as the sun resides in one place, but the sunlight pervades the entire solar system. Similarly, there is God only, or there is one God, as we say, who by his infinite powers pervades the three worlds. So Bhagavan doesn't have to be there physically, in the same way that the sun shines. And if we're in the forest, for example, we see the sun rays coming through as different rays. You can have 15 people there and you see 15 different rays. It is the sunshine. It is the sunlight. Is it the real sun? No, it's not. It's a sun ray. Is it disconnected from the sun? No, it's not. But does it look like it's separate? Of course. Can it carry the same energy and make everyone be healthy and live on? Of course. This is what Vishnu Puran is saying. First canto, 22nd chapter, 55 verse. Check that out. Bhagavan says, in the same way that the sun shines and makes everything live, in the same way he supports all of us through this para prakriti, my superior prakriti, by which the whole universe is animated. The other part of the verse says, Yaedam dharyate jagat. That Arjun, this is called my jiva bhutam. So the same divine energy it is, Arjun, the same divine energy has two dimensions. And these dimensions are what? Apara and para prakriti, my higher and my lower energy. However, my higher energy holds my lower energy together. This is what the verse is saying. The higher energy, the soul, holds the body, the lower energy together. Because my higher energy is what? If you can remember, my higher energy is life. It's consciousness. And it's different from apara prakriti. Because we know, as intelligent beings, that if the higher energy leaves, what happens? The body remains there. The body will remain the same, it will remain right there, it will never be able to move itself from there. Why? Because the higher energy is gone. But together, things happen. The example is a bulb. Let's take a light bulb. The light bulb represents God's lower energy, matter. And electricity represents God's higher energy, soul. Para prakriti. Together, they make what? Light. Bulb or electricity is not capable of producing light by itself. We all know that. In a similar way, body or matter is incapable of producing life. A very good way to look at this is Swami Chinmayananda says that this is a marriage between matter and spirit. And he's saying that make use of this particular marriage because it's very difficult to come by. This marriage of God's two energies, make maximum benefit of it. Because God says that the spiritual factor in me, which is called the soul, presiding over, let's take for example a given lump of matter, right? Let's call the body a lump of matter, any lump of matter for the purposes of this, making this point. The matter is inert energy. It's lacking the ability to move. So what happens here? The para prakriti, the consciousness, the soul energy, comes in contact with this lump of matter of lower energy, and it makes it act. It makes it move. It makes it living. Let's take another example. An engineer can take steel, and he can take iron, and he can manufacture or build an engine, a steam engine. But when the coal engine is harnessed to steam at high pressure, what happens? It works. It starts acting. It starts moving. It comes to life. It has life. Well, not soul, but we all understand. So the steam by itself here is another example, cannot express its capacity and strength. Steel cannot do that. On the other hand, when it is made to work through a given equipment, it is capable of adding movement and motion to the lifeless iron. Well, to the lifeless iron assemblage. It adds life and movement to it. So this is an example of how the body and soul, one in itself can't do anything. So it is this consciousness, my dear friends, that maintains this higher energy, maintains and nourishes all the possibility that you see in the universe, in the world today. Without this spiritual spark, Ishvara Ansa Jiva Vinashi, functioning in us, if this spark is not functioning, if it is not present in us, we would be no more intelligent or no more divine than the stone world. You know stone? I see stone all over the place. We'll be just as intelligent or divine as stone. Nothing much is going on for us because there's no jiva. So these two are known. If you want to remember them before we close, remember them as a seer. Seer. You know, like a thing that sees. Remember them as a seer and the seen. S-E-E-N. One is a seer, one is seeing, and one is seen. So that which is experienced is called our lower energy. The one who's experiencing is called higher or para. The one who's experiencing is called the higher energy, the soul, the consciousness. If you want to enjoy more peace and clarity in our lives, you know what's a really nice thing to do? Let's try it out. It's a little trick. From this moment on, let's try something. Let's try to become two people. Let's pretend as though we're two, that we're two people. One person will be the doer, and the other person will watch, right? Watch what the doer is doing. Essentially, we're trying to be the seer and the seen. Let one of us witness what the other one is doing. Let the doer do his or her thing. Let the other person, the doer and the witnesser, watch what's happening. If we implement this in our lives, that the divinity within us, the soul within us, God within us, the morality, our clarity of education, our upbringing, and all these, our dignity, and when we put all these things together, this can be one of those persons, and the other person is committing, is acting. Start uncovering and manifesting the divinity within you and witness what you were doing. You meaning me, you, anybody, as a human being. What we will find is that most of the things we'll do in life, the seer, the one who's watching, will go like, hold on, hold on, hold on, and he'll start asking questions. You ever hear people say there's a little voice in my head? And I always go with that little voice. That little voice is never wrong. People try this in business, and they succeed. I read a story a long time ago. I cannot remember, but I think it was a Japanese CEO, Toyota, the CEO, when he was asked how come his company is so successful, he says, I go with my gut feeling. I have a little voice in my head. With all the ideas that I have, I check with that little voice, and what he says I do. And he made Toyota. That little voice is the seer. If we go with that little voice, if we go our gut feeling, most of the things we're doing today we would not do, because they're completely unimportant, unnecessary, and sometimes harmful to our spirituality. So let's try that from today. That's a little plan we have before we close here today. Because Bhagavan Sri Krishna says that, hey Mahabaho, O mighty armed one, many people have education, but we're not trying to find out who we are. That's because we're not talking to the little voice. We ignore the little voice. We ignore our divinity. We ignore the energy, spiritual energy within us. But we have to constantly remind ourselves that we must aim for the higher, aim for the better. And this doesn't only mean in spirituality, in all aspects of life. Aim for the higher. Don't settle for mediocrity. There's a beautiful quote I read once that says that people who want to grow in any way should stay away from those who have decided to be comfortable. Now, that might not be a good statement for, if you want to accumulate wealth and things like that, but it can be. If you have a guy who decides not to work and doesn't want to do anything, he decides to be comfortable, how would you grow? If you follow him, you cannot. Spiritually, same thing. So let's have regard, my dear friends, for our higher energy that is in us, Bhagwan's Paraprakriti. Let's use what is available to us in the world, but not abuse it. Let's use it remembering our goal. Let's live and operate with the mindset that everything is impermanent. Everything that we see around us is impermanent. Think about it. They are. And they include your body and your existence. That's why we should do yoga. Yoga means to join, right? To yoke. Let's use this existence to connect to our infinite side. While we're enjoying the facilities that we have available to us, we can do both. We're perfectly capable of doing both. Remember our higher side while we operate in the lower side, in the world, in the things that give suffering. But if we are cognizant of the higher side, the lower side will not give us any suffering. Why? Because we're operating at a different level, a different frequency. So to close our katha today, we'll close with a little story as to how we should ensure that while we do what we do, that we do not lose track of the greater importance in life. There was a king. Doesn't every story start with a king? Once upon a time, there was a king. Well, this one is no different. This king was about 80 years old, but he had no heirs, nobody to take over his kingdom. So he decided to make an announcement. He said, you know what? He called everybody and told them that I'll be making an amusement park. And in this park, I'll be there myself. And when this park is finished, for the first 30 days, I'll be myself in the park. So the park was finished and everybody went. When the people went there, they were amazed. They were taken aback. They couldn't believe their eyes. This thing was so much fun, so many rides and activities and entertainment. Much, much greater than Disney. My children would not be too happy about that statement, but yeah, according to the story, it was 10 times Disney. So the king was in this park for 30 days and everyone started going. Everyone went there and they got awestruck by the size and the beauty and the many different types of rides. So they started enjoying all the rides. So much so that they completely forgot why they were there. They were there to find the king. But they started enjoying the rides. And quickly, before they realized with so many rides, the day will be up, and they quickly have to go home. And they wouldn't find the king. They were taken up completely with the ride. One day a young man decided to go to this park, and he made a decision that today I will just try every ride in this park. Very quickly, I'll go through everything. And so he did. He started out early in the morning, and he went on every ride. While he's going on every ride, he remembers that one of the reasons, he made a plan, one of the reasons why I'm going on every ride is because I want to go to every corner of this park to find the king. So while he's enjoying the ride, he's looking out for the king. On every ride. Because he came with a different mindset. He never lost track of the underlying reason for which he was there. And he continued doing the rides. In the end, he did all the rides. It was getting late. He decided that, you know what? I think this king tricked us. There's no king here. I've gone to every corner of this ride, and I've enjoyed every ride, and I didn't find the king. He's not here. This was not true. And as he was leaving, he heard, you know, Ghanti, he heard the bell, when puja is going on, Aarti, he heard a bell. So he realized that his bell he didn't see anybody ringing a bell before. He looked around and realized that there's a little place there that he did not check. When he looked at that place, there's a little temple. And so he went, and he observed that the evening Aarti was going on, and that's why the bell was ringing. And sort of respect for the arti, he didn't want to, disturb the we call him pujari, the pandit. He didn't want to disturb him, so he waited until arti was finished. But he was uneasy. He wanted to know that this is the only place left in the park that I didn't check. I wanted to know. I will go and ask the pandit if he has seen the king or if the king lives in this temple. So as soon as the arti is finished, he walked up towards the pandit, not even waiting for the pandit to finish what he was doing on the altar, put away the things, and he touched him on the back. When the pandit turned around, it was the king. The king was there. Nobody ever checked there for him. They all got lost in the fanciness, in the enjoyment of the rides, and they lost track of why they were there. But you can live in the world, as the verse goes, but be not of the world. We can do the things we have to do. We have duties. We can take care of them thoroughly, but at the same time, we can know what our purpose is here. We have to keep looking for the king. If we do, we will find him. We all have a king to pursue. So let's don't get derailed, my dear friends. There's a lot of glitter, a lot of distractions. Let's realize God has given us His energy. Let's use them responsibly. While we enjoy in the world, we keep our eyes on the prize. Let's never think that accumulating these material things is the only reason for which we're here. If we do so, we too, like Alexander, will be disappointed. Usually we close with a bhajan, and by now you guessed it. What bhajan will we be singing today? Everyone knows it. Before we go into the bhajan, I just want to thank everyone who has joined us today. All the Pandits, my chacha from England, Pandit Satyacharan Sharma. I also want to say thank you to all the other Pandits, especially I'm not sure if my other chacha, Pandit Vyas, is joining us, but probably I know some people from his temple, from Dharma Mandir of London. So chacha, if you're there, my reverence to you, and hope that the great work that you're doing with the children will continue for Dharma Mandir. In the meantime, while the lockdown is going on, we're helping in this way. Dad Pandit Chandraban Hardwar is also with us, with Dr. Brahm Hardwar as well, a Pandit as well, a scholar in Hinduism. My brothers from Guyana here, my mom who's also online with us, I've seen, Pandit Hari Prasad, and my brother from Legwan Mandir, Pandit Tulsi Ji, doing a great job there in Legwan, and all the other younger Pandits, Pandit Amit from number 72 Mandir, the younger Pandits, Prashant and Charan and Lavesh. These are young Pandits who serve the community. They're all very qualified. They're either in university or finished university and studying Sanskrit and so many other things. So to all of you, thank you for joining us. If I miss any of you, I do thank you for coming on with us. My other brother, Pandit Dinesh Dubey, has joined us from New York as well. So let's group our voices together as we sing a song that everyone knows. You all know the words. Naye tera, naye mera, mandir hai Bhagavan ka. That nothing here really belongs to us. That we should use them. We should know that they're impermanent. We should keep the eyes fixed on that which is higher, that which is better, that which is eternal. Naye tera, naye mera, मंदिर है भगवान का. पानी उसका, भूमि उसी की, सब कुछ उसे महान का। नाये तेरा, it's not yours, naye mera, it's not mine. Even the mandirs, it's a funny thing to say these days with the amount of troubles that we have in the mandirs. If you all realize the mandir hai Bhagavan ka, this is also Bhagavan's. It's not us. We're there to take care for a few days. Let's do our best. Pani uska, the water is Bhagavan's, bhumi usi ki, the earth, He has created it, it's His energy. Sab kuch usse mahan ka, everything is His own. Hum sab khel khilauna uske. That we can be toys. And sometimes we're played by different entities, even by human beings. Or we're not necessarily ready to be played by Bhagavan or to be Bhagavan's toys. He will play with us eternally, with showering His love upon us. Kel raha kartar hai. So let us always remember that if we're ready to give Bhagavan an opportunity to play with us as His toys, as His children, then we'll always be covered by His grace, by His mercy, by His compassion. I just have to find my bhajan here. I'm just trying to remember the words as I go by. Okay, got it. Man mandir mein darshan kar le. That all we have to do is prepare the mind. Prepare the mind to make it a mandir, man mandir. And then darshan kar le. We'll get Bhagavan's blessing. Un prano ki pran. That He is the life giver. He has given us life. He has given us para prakriti. And if we make the mind His mandir, then everything will be well. We'll enjoy His grace. Naye tera, naye mera, mandir hai Bhagavan ka, pani uska, bhumi usi ki, sab kuch use mahan ka. Naye tera, naye mera, mandir hai Bhagavan ka, pani uska, bhumi usi ki, sab kuch use mahan ka. Naye tera, naye mera, naye tera. हम सब खेल खिलौने उसके, खेल रहा करतार रे, खेल रहा करतार रे। उसकी ज्योति सब में दमके, सब में उसका प्यार रे, सब में उसका प्यार रे। मन मंदिर में, मन मंदिर में, मन मंदिर में दर्शन कर ले उन प्राणों के प्राण का। पानी उसका, भूमि उसी की, सब कुछ उसे महान का। नाये तेरा, नाये मेरा, भगवान का, पाने उसका भूमि उसी की, सब कुछ उसे महान का, नाए तेरा। Vrindavan Bihari Lal Ki Jai. Before we come with our meditation, I also want to recognize my dear older brother, Sri Madanji is also with us today. Great teacher of Sanatan Dharma, teaches Bhagavad Gita as well. So Madanji, welcome. It's good to have you, and to every one of you, all you teachers, I'm honored to have you with us. And let's examine Bhagavad Gita every Sunday. Vrindavan Bihari Lal Ki Jai. Vrindavan Bihari Lal Ki Jai. At this time we'll try to sit straight, sit with our back straight, our neck straight. Let's close our eyes, let's take a few deep breaths. Let's breathe in deeply, and as we exhale, let's try to relax into that breath. Let's do that again. We're preparing ourselves for puja, for Bhagavan Shankar's puja. Exhale and relax into that breath again. Let's take one more very deep breath. As you exhale, relax into that breath. Try to keep your feet on the ground if you're sitting on a chair. Put your palms on your thighs, facing upwards. And we remember last week the first part of our puja is that we're making offerings to the lingam of everything we have. We offer honey, we offer dahi, we offer coconut water, we offer milk, we pour sugar. Whatever we have to offer, whatever we'd like to offer, imagine these are cold. In the first part of our meditation, the first 3 verses, we're offering all these things. Bathe the lingam to your mind's content. And then after the first part, then we'll start drying the lingam, decorating it with chandan 3 times across on top. We can put a dot on top. We can put a beautiful mala, the most colorful mala. You can make it with mandar, flower, or anything. This is the beauty of Manas Puja. Make the most beautiful mala you can imagine. Or you can put a mala made of pearls or diamonds on Bhagavan Shankar. Do arti, give him food, do whatever you want, and then ask him that whatever you've offered, to accept them. And oh Lord, whatever mistakes I've made with any of these senses, now or whenever it was, do forgive us, so that we can come closer and closer to you. Picture the divine image of a lingam and commence your puja. Ratnai kalpitamasanam himajalai Snanam cha divyambaram Nana ratna vibhushitam rigamada Modam kitam chandanam Jati champaka bilva pattarachitam Pushpam cha dhupam tatha Deepam devadayanidhi pashupate Hatkalpitam grihyata Sauvarane navaratna kandarachite Patre gritam payasam Vashyam panchamidam payodadiyutam Rambaphalam panakam Shakanam jalam ruchikaram Karpur kandojalam Tambulam manasamaya virchitam Bhakta Prabho Shri Kuru Chatram chamarayodyugyam vyajanakam Chadarshakam nirmalam Veena veramridanga kahalakala Geetam cha nityam tatha Shashtangam pranati sutir bahubidha Hotat samastam maya Sankalpena samarpitam tava vibho Puja grihana prabho Atma tvam girijamati sahachara Pranah shariram griham Pujate vishayo prabho garachana Nidra samadhishtati Sanchada padayo prarakshana vidhi Stotrani sarvagiro Yadayata karma karomi tathadakhilam Shambho tava radhanam Karacharana kritam va Kayajam karmajam va Sravananainajam va Manasam va paradham Vihitam vihitam va Sarvameta kshamasva Jai Jai Karunabhe Sri Mahadeva Shambho Iti Srimad-Shankaracharya Virchita Sivamanasa Puja Samapta Shankar Bhagavan Ki Jai Hari Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sri Parvataye Pataye Namah. Har 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 Mahadev. Shall we join in closing prayers? बार बार बर मांग हो हर्ष देह श्री रंग पर सरोजयन पावनी भक्ति सदा सत्संग सिया पति रामचंद्र की जय शरणम प्रभु उमापति महादेव की जय पवन सुत हनुमान की जय सियावर रामचंद्र की जय शरणम प्रभु सब संतन की जय जय सीताराम। जय जय श्री राधे जय जय श्री राधे जय जय श्री राधे। रासेश्वरी राधा रानी की जय। Until we see you again, please exercise all precautions. Be very careful if you have to go to work, or for those of you who can stay home, don't go out unnecessarily. Remember, the virus is still very much alive, especially here in Florida and so many other different states. So until I see you again, may Bhagavan keep you safe. Please continue watching. We have our ad that we'll do one more time for our upcoming show. Bhagavan bless you and stay safe. Vrindavan Bihari Lal Ki Jai.
तेरे संग यारा खुश रंग बहारा तू रात दीवानी मैं जर्द सितारा
जब जब सैया डर से दिखावे जिया बेकरार था जिया बेकरार था आज भी है और कल भी रहेगा
फल बुद्धि विद्या ये उठाए
कभी कभी मेरे दिल में ख्याल आता है
गमदनि सनि दनि दम दम गम गरे रे सा
चले जाएंगे जहाँ से हम तो प्यार का सागर है
रंग दे ओ माए रंग दे मेरा दे बसंती चोला मेरा रंग दे बसंती चोला
मीत प्यारे आओ मीत प्यारे
यादों की बारात निकली है आज दिल के द्वारे सपनों की शहनाई बीते दिनों को पुकारे दिल के द्वारे
Good afternoon, passengers. All international departures to the United States, Canada, the United Kingdom, Guyana, Trinidad, Suriname, South Africa, Australia, and India are all expected to board on time. All in-flight entertainment will be Janmashtami around the world, presented by Radha Krishna Foundation. On August 8th, 2020. Janmashtami around the world. This live satsang is presented by Radha Krishna Foundation in light of the ongoing lockdown and in support of Sri Lakshmi Mandir of West Palm Beach, Florida. Radha Krishna Dham of number 73 Village, Guyana. Number 7271 Sanatan Mandir of number 72 Village, Guyana. Dharma Mandir of London, United Kingdom. And Shiva Mandir Ashram of Legwan Island, Guyana.